purchase power cost is up. Revenue's up slightly. We continue to be able to do a payment in lieu of tax. It's been $50,000 the last 3 years. I got back to the level we were at almost the level we're at in 2005. But revenue has declined there in the last 3 years. Still a significant amount of income there, but down since 2011. Where does that leave us in electric? That's slide 47. That leaves us with cash in green. So really the positive things are the cash in green, and then above it, that's a receivable from other funds, an advance, in this case sewer. And then the negatives, of course, are the pink, those are bonds, and then the amount on top of that is an advance it owes another fund. So you can see the cash in the electric fund, after being down in that under 200,000 range, has increased to over 800,000 the last 3 years. In addition, they have 300,000 due from the sewer fund. That's the purple on top. And the bonds payable, we paid those bonds down to $375,000, as we show in the first bullet. But we did borrow $200,000 this year from the EDA revolving loan fund, and that's the number that you see there. So I guess as we looked at this, you go back to 2010 and 11, that money that we put into the sewer fund from electric is really necessary just so we had more receivables and cash than our debt. But that has changed significantly the last 3 years as the cash and electric fund has grown. You can see that they would still be significantly more cash than debt and advances if that purple on the top was transferred out and forgiven to the sewer fund. So it's an option, something you should look at. Yeah, it's 300,000. The 200 that's on that third bullet is the amount that they borrowed from the EDA revolving loan fund. Okay, so that's the electric side of things. On the water side of things, continued increase in revenues. There was a rate increase in February of 2014. Of course, the new structure and rates in 2015, but that did not impact this. And expenses were down. Income is just up slightly because 2013 had some non-operating income that helped its income there. But basically, water revenues up, expenses down, a positive year in the water fund. And then on slide 49, you can see that they continue to pay their debt down to $2,290,000, down from that $3 million mark in 2011. In cash, no cash there still. That cash that shows up is we need to borrow that every year to show reserve cash under the bond agreements. But that's cash that this water fund will be able to repay, and that's not an issue with the sewer, like the sewer. Page 50 then, the sewer fund. In this case we show revenues in two colors because we have local revenues and then the village revenues in the lighter color. As far as your actual expenses, they're in the lighter color, the pink, and the orange on top is non-cash, it's depreciation. Depreciation shot up this year with all the improvements finally going online. Depreciation was up $58,000 to $186,000. So we show a loss in your sewer fund, but you probably kind of focus on the column with the two blues in it and compare it to the cash expenses, which in this case are $300,000. So there is cash being generated by the sewer fund when you exclude that depreciation component. You also note that there was not a rate increase here. The rate increase, I believe, took effect in February of 2015, and hopefully will raise the revenues here. But as slide 51 shows, again, that's the reserve cash, and there's a due from that allows us to show that cash. And then you see the debt of just under $1,000,005. Those are bonds, $1,465,000, and then $1,167,000 in advances. And what we talked about is, if you take 500 off that, you still have 567,000 in advances. So it's something to consider here, getting the sewer fund back in line, even with that. Additional cash that will be generated by higher sewer fees next year, or sewer revenues. That'll help us get to a better position on these bonds, make it less necessary to bond in the future, hopefully, as other capital needs come along. But it is time probably to address that, being that the FEMA issues are all behind us. And then the liquor fund, fund, it was able to, it collected its FEMA dollars and was able to pay its due from back. I think there's $400 left in there, but pretty much all of that back. And then there's advances of 166, we talked about that. We knew that was going to happen eventually. The advances on here and the buildings on there. So let me wrap up with just kind of an overview of where you folks are at here in the city, and that is that you have $240,000 in your general fund. That's 35%. Property taxes are providing more than state dollars to governmental your governmental funds. You now have over $1 million in your capital improvement fund, fire, and ambulance. Close to $1 million when you add the two together for equipment needs going forward. 730, I think it was, in fire, and 250 in ambulance. TIF paid off in 2015 to $65,000 at the end of the year. We continue to transfer the business flood loan collections. FEMA is finally taken care of after all these years. No more trying to estimate where they actually are, but now we know where they are. Enterprise funds with $4.1 million in bonds, and sewer fund with $1.1 million in advances. We talked about that. We are going to see rate increases. The sewer rate increase will provide some relief, but probably not enough to take care of that debt. Issued the $1.3 million this year, and then the $166 with the liquor fund and its building. Some things are getting resolved, but it can't all get resolved at once, and you really are just down to those 2 or 3 issues. Any questions?
You know, this chart here with the sewer fund, and you see the red on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sewer fund's been in the minus there for quite a long time. I mean, even past, maybe that time, even before then. So it isn't, can't even just blame it on the flood or you know.
Well, the flood exacerbated it there in the middle.
Yeah, it did, but it was still
Right.
not too good.
Yeah, it's important to understand that the depreciation is a component of that, and that it is the cash is coming from the fact that it does generate cash when you pull that depreciation out of there, or it wouldn't be able to pay bonds at all. So. But that's right, the sewer fund revenues are really insufficient for the costs that it has. Clearly insufficient for the debt it has.
I just think it's, since the council just changed the rate, we should give it some time and see how that fleshes out. But I do think there's value in the other changes that you talked about.